Welcome to the Amplify to Seven Figures podcast, where we look inside the mind of seven-figure entrepreneurs to see how they amplify their business and amplify their life. Let's welcome today's guest. Welcome to the Amplify to Seven Figures podcast. Today's guest is the author of Cracking the Millennial Code on Managing Millennials and also author of The Other Side of the World. At age 14, he launched a multinational marketing company. Yes, age 14. That specialized in working with non-profit organizations. He scaled that organization to work with over 200 clients in 25 different countries. After spending many years as an executive in venture capital-based companies, in 2019, he jumped back into the startup world with Boon. He's a serial entrepreneur, angel investor, international speaker, and best-selling author. Oh yeah, and for fun, he's actually a sommelier as well. Give a very warm welcome to Ryan Vett. Great to have you on the show.
Thanks so much, Paul. Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's you've got a very interesting story. I mean, you went from the lemonade stands and all that stuff, and we'll probably talk about that one another day. But where I want to really dive in to start off with is some people may find this a little crazy, but I'm certainly intrigued. Why did you depart from the venture capital world to work at a coffee shop?
That's a good question. So I had done about 7 startups over the years, and I've been either a founding executive, senior executive, or founder, one of those 3 roles at all of them. And it's a very, very fun journey. There's so much to learn. But about 7 years ago now, I invested with a partner into a coffee shop and wine bar. So we do coffee, craft beer, and wine. And I really enjoyed that. And surprisingly, they're not too unprofitable. They can make a decent amount of money if you put some business principles behind them. And so really, really loved that. Opened the second one in 2019 and kind of had 2 locations under my belt, all the while doing the startup thing. And, after selling Boon, I really had one of those moments that, which was a software company. I had one of those moments that was like, really, what do I want to do with my life? And I think we all have those moments, and I probably have them more often than most. And so I was contemplating walking, taking a hike, and I was like, you know what? I have so many people that I have the opportunity to influence. Each location serves about 3,000 guests a year, unique guests. And between the 2, there's about 30 to 40 team members, depending on season and things like that. And that's a lot of people. If you look at all that, and there's a lot of people that I have the opportunity to impact in a very real way. And so I launched Third. Third means your third place. So a lot of times people say your home, your work, in that third place. So whether that's like Central Perk on Friends or the bar on Cheers, whatever that space is, it's your third place that you go. And so that's what Third is. And basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to not create another Starbucks. Not that there's anything wrong with Starbucks, but not create a chain, but take businesses that need what I would call infrastructure help or operational help, and really focus on revitalizing Main Street businesses by focusing on the people first.
That's really interesting that you say that, especially around, reviving retail businesses, which have probably been the most hard hit over the last 12 months out of anything. And some would say it's quite brave to go down that direction. What gives you the confidence that, that there's still a place for that, and that's still got the opportunity to grow back up?
Yeah, I focus specifically on beverages. I love coffee, tea, beer, wine, whiskey, kombucha, cider, whatever it is. But we're not messing with food. I will leave that to someone else. I enjoy eating food, so I'll eat at the restaurants all day. But we're focusing primarily on beverages for a couple of reasons. One, it's a low-cost way to spend time with friends in a social setting. It's pretty universal cross-culturally. It might be a different beverage per culture, but most people can come together over a social drink, whether that's coffee or tea or beer, wine, or whiskey, and have that experience together. And that's not totally impacted by the economy. Of course, it's going to dip a little bit if the economy were to dip. But the reality is, if you look at Starbucks' stock over the 2008, 2009 crash of the market, Starbucks continued to slowly climb. They weren't going as well as they were, but the reason being is you can spend, now it's like $10 a drink, but you can spend a couple dollars a drink and go on a date or get some time away and not feel like you're breaking the bank on a $30 per person dinner or more. And so that's part of the reason why I think it's economy proof. The other thing is everyone needs jobs, and a lot of the reasons why people can't work in these environments is because you've got the big chains that are able to provide wonderful benefits, and then you've got the small one-off businesses that are not able to provide benefits. And if you have to make that trade-off, there's only so many jobs that provide everything that you might need for a family. And so one of the things that Third does is, because we're a large, or we will be large, we will have all of the benefits of a large corporation, even though each individual location has a different name, and people won't know Third exists. That's the point. You're not supposed to know we exist. We're behind serving our team well, so that they serve our partners and guests well.
It's an interesting concept that you put together as well, and I think what you are doing there is something that's really valuable to to the marketplace, because there is a lot of solopreneur businesses, especially, and smaller businesses that maybe don't change as fast as others. So that's really, really, really helpful. And then also looking at, like, you scaled massively, right? Firstly, to start a business at 14, like, most people are trading, if they're trading Pokemon cards, they're doing pretty well.
Well, I actually tried to run Pokemon out of business as part of my business venture, but that's a story for another time.
So you scaled right up, and you seem to have a real passion for startups as well. So talk to us a little bit about, like, how you scaled up, and then what's it like selling a business once you've scaled it?
Yeah, each business has been so radically different. And I think the one thing that I can promise any entrepreneur is there's going to be challenges you just don't expect coming down the pipe, and that's okay. And I think what makes most entrepreneurs successful is not that they don't fail, because I would say almost anyone who's been successful has failed. It's how they get up from that failure and really move forward. So trying to think of kind of a generic story or illustration to encapsulate all of them. But I think the biggest thing, the one thing that I found true, and I talk about the $1 million lemonade stand, right? How I took a childhood passion, transformed it into, all my businesses, not just the beverage-based businesses, but the 6 other med device or tech businesses I've been in. And one of the things that I found true is time is moving forward. We all, no matter where you are in the world, we have 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day. That's a true fact that so far no one's been able to change that that I know of. If so, call me afterwards. But the second thing is people. I've been in businesses that have been profitable. I've been in businesses that have not been profitable. So money comes and goes, products fail, products succeed, trends come and go, but people are always there. And I think that's really where Third comes into place, is it's focusing on people, knowing that we have to utilize the time we have today to best care for those that we're responsible for serving.
And when you talk about caring for people and also having the systems and processes there, like, if you go and become a holding company for a company that's already out there doing some stuff, where is the first kind of tweaks that you go, okay, cool, this is where we see a big domino that we can turn around very quickly?
Most of the time, it's just process inefficiencies and a lack of process. I wouldn't even say process inefficiencies, because the processes don't exist. That's probably the thing that we found most often. But sometimes there are people issues. One of the things that we're looking to do is every location, and this isn't like concrete in our bylaws or anything, but so far, any location that's open 7 days, we're reducing to 6. We don't care what day of the week they take off. We're actually trying to stagger it for various reasons, but we realize that people need rest, they need a break. And if you look at turnover rates, the people that have the highest turnover are nurses, generally first, and then you see people in the hospitality industry second. And it's because of the hours and the stress without breaks, among other things, right? That's a big generalization. And so that's one of the things that we're trying to do, is focus on how can we make sure that the people aren't working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, which happens a lot with general managers, and we can take some of that burden off. Then the other thing we do is we automatically eliminate what most people consider the busy work. So many people that get into it starting a coffee shop. I've talked to so many coffee shop owners in this journey, just using that as one archetype, but talked to so many, and they're always like, I was standing behind the bar making a latte. It was wonderful. And then that first IRS letter came, and I forgot to pay my taxes because I didn't know I had to pay sales taxes in addition to income taxes. Like, yeah, that sucks. Oh, and then payroll taxes. Oh, and then unemployment, and these things just pile up. And so we take all of that off the entrepreneur founder's plate so that they can focus on serving people while they got into it. So that automatically lifts that burden off people's heads. And sometimes we find scary things in that, but usually we can straighten that out pretty quickly.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially. I mean, I remember even we were running a bridesmaids dress business, so selling bridesmaids dresses in an e-com store, and I went through the book Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, and I basically got this spreadsheet. I put it all together, and then by the end of it, I was like, "Oh crap, we haven't got a business."
Yep.
And then I looked at it, and our refund rate was actually 30% when we thought it was 12% because we were calculating it. When you scale up, you calculate on the month of those sales, not on the month when it happened. So then I made this massive mess, and I couldn't even switch the ads off at the time because we couldn't cover the cash flow. So then we took out all these loans and everything like that. It was crazy. So systems and processes, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's extremely important.
So what's interesting, Ryan, is you've been through a lot of different experiences from startup to venture backed and that kind of stuff. Where do you think the next 5 years of marketing is heading?
I think we've seen a trend for several years now, and I think will continue, is this idea of personalization. And if you're not marketing personally to someone, forget it. I had the opportunity to be at at the time it was the leading social media agency, and now it's still one of the leading social agencies, as an internship years ago. This was when, this little company called Spotify was trying to give us free trials. And Instagram was giving us beta access. Like, this was way, way, way long ago. And it was cool to be a part of that company and see that it was the first time consumers or customers were coming and wanted to hear from your brand. Now, a lot of people have kind of switched that off. Not that it's totally impossible to market through social media, but that's kind of migrated, and people expect this personalization, which we've seen for several years now. The other thing that's been really interesting, I'm not going to hang my hat on this yet, but I'm watching, keeping an eye on it. We're seeing traditional mediums come back up, not so much print ads and things like that, but we're seeing an increase in success of like strategic partnerships with benches, billboards. The most interesting one I saw some stats on recently, and again, I'm not hanging my hat on this, I'm watching this to see if it actually trends, is postcards. And the success rate of postcards has increased more than any other marketing medium in the last 2 to 3 years. I just saw that in a study a couple days ago, specifically among the millennial generation, which is even more interesting. So we're seeing some of that. But that personalization is really where I see it going over time, and using data, which gets into a whole ethics issue, but using data to be able to better target your customer on a very personal basis.
And when we talk about personalization, well, firstly, just a note on that postcards, that's something that we've seen as well. So you may get a postcard from us at some point.
There you go.
That is also, so we use something called thanks.io for anyone listening, which is really cool. So you can do that personalized, so it's going to go straight to you and look handwritten as well, and then it's got a picture of our team on the front. So I've just spoiled that all for you, that experience for you now, but
I'll still have the surprise look when I open it.
Oh my god, I can't believe
I'll do a mailbox opening for you instead of an unboxing.
But yeah, again, that when we talk about personalization, is that just from in terms of the data, or is it also people like, they want their name on things, and they want it to be exactly for them?
I think it's both, and I think it's using data to both create custom tailored campaigns that could be more general, might not have their name on it, but you're seeing that with a lot of online ads now. Hey, are you this person or this person? Click, and then this is your ad experience. You see Hulu doing that a lot. So I think it could go that way, but I also am seeing more and more of that personalization. Like, I just got a FedEx package the other day with a bunch of personalized stuff to try to get me to buy something, which they spend a ton of money on it. But you are seeing more and more of that type of personalization as well. And so I think you'll see both, but it's ultimately using data to figure out how to really woo someone. Interesting marketing campaign, right? This is a one-off, I call it account-based marketing. A company I'm an advisor for, they really want this employee, and I know the employee well. I've actually hired this individual 4 different times. So I like this employee a lot. They're a rock star. And they're like, how do we get him? I said, they're like, how much is he going to cost? And we're going through numbers. They said, at the end of the day, salary is important, all of that. He needs to know he's coming into a company with great culture. And I said, you know what's important to him? And they didn't. So I gave them some cues. And anyway, they knew his family would be out to dinner. And so it was the first time they'd seen each other in 18 months after COVID. They bought him a meal. Now, I don't know if he's accepted the job yet. This is real time. But that is a way of personal. I knew something that this guy liked. And obviously that was a little more personal data, not data, big data, but things like that go so much further than, another email marketing campaign where it's easy just to swipe and it goes away. But it's hard to do that with a postcard. You actually have to physically walk to the trash can.
Yeah, because it's that inbox isn't as cluttered anymore as it used to be. I remember we used to get like that much, like loads and loads of mail every day, junk mail and stuff. And now it's like one or two different things. Also, it's interesting what you say about personalization in terms of like real human personalization. Have you seen, like, and I'm not sure if you've read The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes, where he talks about the Dream 100 process and all that kind of stuff. Is that something that you've used in some of your startups of like that real hyper personalization or other strategies?
I think one of the most interesting ones, kind of from not quite to that level, but what we did was we were trying to sell a specific car dealership an advertising campaign, and they were each like 6-figure campaigns. So they were big. We spent a little bit of money. We hired a Lego artist. These are people out there that actually create Legos to build Lego cars for each one of these people. And we would send it with you can buy those video screens that are dirt cheap. And you can preload a video on there and hit play to watch the ad. So we sent that to people and did that. One of the other campaigns that the same company did a couple years earlier was they would take get a remote control car, send the car, but keep the remote and say, call me and I'll send you the remote too. So there's things like that that are more kind of account-based marketing that are a little bit more personal, but still you can do mass market because we sent a couple hundred of those cars out. It was an expensive campaign, but the ROI was huge. I mean, everyone's going to have that Lego sitting on their desk. It's a cool custom car that looks like, the cars that they were selling, the newest model.
And do you think you can do that in startup world as well without massive budgets that do that hyper personalization? Because everyone's like, oh, I need to run more ads, but like, do you think that leverage growth, and I want to be careful not to put words in your mouth here as well, but like leverage, how important is creating leverage in a startup?
It's all about, how far can you stretch your dollar? I mean, that is the most important thing early on in a startup. When you get bigger, you have a little bit more ability to get creative and not be quite as concerned about the dollars and cents. But I remember a campaign similar that we did, and my team probably remembers this. They probably still, curse my name for this, but we got, I want to say 3,000 or 4,000 greeting cards that were very, very nice. And I required everyone to hand write on them. And we created these what looked like newspaper clippings, said, hey, it was to doctors. We're selling medical advice. Hey, doctor, I saw this magazine clipping and thought about you. And actually, all we did was buy a bunch of 1-pages, print something funny on the back that looked like an ad, and just kind of tore it. We intentionally made it look like it was hand cut and folded in here in a personal letter. And that was a successful campaign. But doing all of that for the 3,000 people or however many it was far less expensive than getting, a print ad in industry publication, and much more effective. And so things like that are definitely, you just got to be different. And there is something to be said, the old Nielsen kind of throws this number out. Someone has to see something 3 times before they actually pay attention to it. And so just doing that isn't enough. Then that needs to be followed by an ad that appears in a publication that's saying, or an email or a phone, so there's a lot more to it. But being unique in those strategies is really important.
I like it. And there's a lot that people can take away from that as well. Don't take what Ryan's will share with a pinch of salt, because there's so much from a strategic perspective. Like you say, every dollar has a job. That's what my mentor says. Is like every dollar in the business has a job, and don't go and waste it. So powerful stuff. I love it. Ryan, one question that we ask everyone on the show is, what do you want to be remembered for when you die?
Yeah, I think I was 18 and I was at a conference in Atlanta with some of the best leadership speakers I've still ever heard under one roof to this day. And I unfortunately do not remember who recommended this, but one of the speakers there recommended kind of writing down a life motto or a mission statement, vision statement. And I did, and I've stuck to it for a long time. Originally, it was to be a good leader, which is a really terrible mission statement because there's nothing there. There's no substance, no action, no clarity, nothing to do. But what I boiled it down to was leaders inspire others. And what am I inspiring someone to? A positive change. So in everything that I do and what I want to be remembered by is that I inspire everyone towards a positive change. And the question that people always ask is, well, what if you fire someone? Have you ever fired someone? How do you do that? Unfortunately, I've had to part ways with people before. And how do you do that? Well, I want someone to be better because of the experience than before it. Doesn't always mean that the growing process is easy or not painful. But I have had so many people come back that I have separated with professionally that have ended up coming back at some point, and we can sit down and have a drink. It's not always the most comfortable, and it doesn't happen all the time, but overall, that's what I want to be remembered by. And I don't bat perfectly, but more often than not, that's my goal, is to inspire others towards a positive change. So after I've died, I hope that people can say that because of Ryan, I was inspired to change this or do this that I previously hadn't.
And it's not lost on me about the firing process as well. I mean, we've let people go sometimes, and we try to say, hey, you've got a 7-day trial to start off with, because you usually find out a lot in that first 7 days. But at that point as well, like you say, if you can build that relationship with them at that point that's so strong, it's like, listen, it's not working out, and it's not so much it's not you, it's me, but but there is a little bit of that to it. Like, just can we dive into that a little bit more? So like, if you had to let someone go, how would you let them go without them feeling like crap?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple different scenarios. Obviously, you got policy violations. That's one. I would love to share those, but unfortunately, I don't think I can legally. But if there's a blatant policy violation, you've done everything you can to address it. If the person can have multiple chances, sometimes there's not many chances. Then you have all those conversations, and then finally on strike 2 or 3, depending on the offense, you just say, hey, we've had these conversations, we've tried to help, and clearly this isn't working out. So that's one. In the case of mass layoffs, I think this is the most tricky because it crushes morale. Usually if there's a bad apple on a team, the team's not always upset that person's let go. And so sometimes you're the hero, which I don't think should be celebrated when someone is let go. But in the case of mass layoffs, one of the things that I always encourage companies I coach to do, that I learned from someone that for a company that I was at, is you create resume booklets and you send it to all the area companies that are looking for people with relevant skill sets. And before it even happens, you allow the managers to kind of write a quick why, the best role for this person. So it takes a lot of work on the management, but it's like, hey, sorry, we're downsizing our team. But we want to let you know this is exactly what we've done. And in one case, I saw interviews set up the same day for people. So they were still paid out, their 3-4 weeks. And so they got double, actually. It was a good day for them. And so those are really, really neat things that you can do. Each one's so case by case. Each one's so case by case.
Yeah. That question of, if I had to do something, what could I do? And that's really a strong question to have. So Ryan, what is one quick win that people can use to amplify their business today?
I think the biggest thing goes back to creating a personal mission or vision or motto statement, kind of identifying your values. I have on my desk the things that are most important to me, and I recommend not having any more than 5. But most people haven't written those down. And it's one thing to say, yeah, they're in my head, but to have them take the time and write them down, say, oh, is this really what's first, or is this second? Writing that down as an individual can amplify your business. I think we don't focus enough on how, especially as leaders, how our personal values, and I was just doing a research project, how our personal values actually impact the way our business operates and how our clients are actually impacted. So I definitely recommend taking the time to either write down a mission statement or a motto, like I shared earlier. Mine is to inspire others towards positive change, or writing down your priorities in life, whether that's faith, or family, or friends, or work, and making sure that everything you do is within those orders and doesn't deviate. Because when they do, you look like the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Yeah, That's really good stuff for people to take away as well. Is like, because as soon as you come off alignment, then you're like, if something just doesn't feel right, and the further you get away from that, we always say it's a lot easier to move the dial 1 degree back to north than it is to go, oh, I think you went the wrong way last week. You're like, oh,
Yes.
I'm still driving
Yep.
in the wrong direction.
Yep.
So finally, Ryan, what 7-figure entrepreneur would you nominate to be on the show next, and where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, there are so many 7-figure entrepreneurs. Can I give you 2?
I mean, yeah.
Okay. 2, because I've really gotten into this this kind of Main Street business and revitalizing it through tech, because I would be lying if I said there didn't have a tech play too. But I'm calling it a Main Street business. But the first one, they're both local. One's local to my area, one's local to my general geography. First one is Scott Wingo. He's the CEO of Get Spiffy. It is an on-demand fleet management and car wash service, car and detailing service that's totally eco-friendly. And he's grown this business rapidly. I mean, it's massively expansive and continuing to grow. It's not his first startup either. So he's very experienced and just really, really cool to hear his story. So that's one. The second one, Cameron Hardesty, she's the CEO of Poppy Flowers. They're out of kind of the DC area. And they've taken this wedding flower business, digitized it, helped make it simple so your bride and groom aren't, bickering over wedding flowers. And then COVID hit. And so the business she was like, what am I going to do? And she pivoted, kept her same original business there, pivoted to this incredible home arrangement flower service, which I got for my wife, and she just loved it. And I'm invested in both these companies, full disclosure. But Cameron, just as a young CEO, has done an incredible job, and she's just really impressive. So those are the 2 7-figure entrepreneurs that come to mind right now.
I love it. And where can people find out more about you, Ryan?
I am really easy to find online, maybe too easy. Ryan Vet, RyanVet. Google it. Instagram is usually my social media platform of choice. I know that's weird for an entrepreneur, but I'm on all of them: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I'm not really on TikTok. I have an account, but you're never going to see a video on there. And then my website, of course, is ryanvet.com. You can find out more about me, some of the businesses I'm involved in, LinkedIn, and happy to chat.
Yeah, it's definitely some interesting when you look through your about section on your site as well. So I highly recommend go to ryanvet.com just to see Ryan's story in more detail as well, which is super, super awesome. So you've been listening to the Amplify to 7 Figures podcast with me, Paul Ace, and my amazing guest, Ryan Vet. It's been amazing having you on the show. Remember, amplify your business and amplify your life. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to the Amplify to 7 Figures podcast. To access the show notes, episodes, and this month's giveaway, head over to www.amplifyto7figures.com. Remember, amplify your business, amplify your life.